Here's more evidence that college admissions and financial aid really is a game, and you can win it too if you are aware of it and know how to play it. Recently, there was an article in the New York Times about Syracuse University offering several students, or many students, substantially greater amounts of aid after the May 1st deadline date, even though some of the families that they had highlighted in the article had asked for more aid previously and were basically denied. So what happened? Well, no one can really know for sure. After all, Syracuse is a huge name. It's internationally known. It's a great university. I was out there a couple of summers ago visiting. It's a wonderful area. In the article in the New York Times by Ron Lieber, there's some guesses. Obviously, we think that Syracuse did not get as many students who opted to enroll as they were expecting. In the article, it talks about how Syracuse played the game of chicken and lost. There could be an aspect related to international students because a not small portion of enrollment at Syracuse are international students, and international students tend to pay full sticker price, right, which is $92,000 give or take. But right now, in the political world, international students are under some pressure. We'll say it that way. So it was really surprising to hear of a school of Syracuse's stature coming out and doing this. And by the way, there's another aspect to this, and that is years ago, colleges could not poach other students. So once a student committed to a school right after the May 1st deposit deadline, then there was an agreement among the colleges that they wouldn't try and poach each other's students. Part of the agreement was also that schools cannot offer different enticements to students to get them to apply early and things like that. Apply early, commit early. That rule went away. It was several years ago. It was like a settlement with the Department of Justice. So it's no surprise that Syracuse or other schools would do something like this. It was just a surprise that a big name like Syracuse did it. So what does this mean for families, right? Now, I guarantee you Syracuse was not out handing additional money to all of the students who it accepted, but ultimately decided not to enroll for whatever reason. I can almost assuredly tell you that Syracuse picked and chose its spots of which students it would give money to. And my guess would be that it would be the students where, obviously in majors that perhaps enrollment fell a little bit short, or in areas that Syracuse was really trying to bolster, build up a major, or whatever the case may be. But some of the lessons coming out of it were, number one, the importance of this game called enrollment management, right? Enrollment management sits above financial aid, sits above admissions, and it's really about what the colleges want or need, like whether it's kids in a certain major or kids from a certain geographic area or boys versus girls, whatever the case may be. Again, every college has what are called institutional priorities, and as a general rule of thumb, the more a student meets those institutional priorities or helps the college meet those institutional priorities, the more aid that student's going to get, just as a general rule of thumb. But also, the lesson here is it doesn't hurt to ask. But one of the things that this article points out is families should generally wait until the last sort of minute to accept their spot at the college, send in that enrollment deposit. Now, in certain instances, you can't really afford to wait. So, for example, if your student is going to go for athletics, they probably can't wait because the coach might offer their spot on whatever team to another student. Right? So athletics, you probably can't wait. And then there's also certain majors where the college is only going to enroll X number of students for that program. So in those cases, you probably can't wait. But in the vast majority of the cases, you are kind of better off waiting and to see if the school would come back with more money, whatever. So in a situation like this, in fact, if you really want to play the game, you should tell your son or daughter's friends, right? Especially if they have applied to the same school as your kid, you should tell that family, oh no, you got to get the deposit in right away. So let them sort of fill in and you kind of wait for better offers, hopefully later on. But it's just an example of how admissions and aid really is a game, and it's based on different schools and what they look for and what happens. And so families who know this and know how to take advantage can get a lot more aid for college, making the cost of college a lot less, making that financial burden a lot less on paying for it, and saving tens of thousands of dollars. I mean, as this article pointed out, there were students getting offered an additional $20,000 per year. I think one kid had highlighted was offered over $30,000 a year of extra aid on top of whatever they gave the kid already. That's pretty incredible. But these things do happen. I wouldn't be surprised if they happen a little bit more often. I'm just shocked that a school like Syracuse did something like this. As always, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time.